everyone. Time for the next one now. Please welcome Mr. Rajesh and Mr. Hari Krishna presenting the title Your Own Database Security Inspector with Alerting Mechanism. Please give them a round of applause.
Hey, hi, good afternoon all. Hope you had a great lunch. I know might be a bit sleepy, but I will try to make you awake, keep you awake by some of the questions we were going to ask. Not really. So today's topic is very simple, but I would say important in terms of the security aspect, because security to a lot of organizations is like a very, very paramount importance. So that's where we are going to focus on that part. The solution, we are not trying to over-engineer it. We are trying to use a very simple solutions, what is available natively within the Postgres ecosystem, I would say. Okay, taking one customer use case and making that solution, okay, is what our objective of the today's session is going to be. You can really make use of the whole system, take those parameters, maybe tweak that, make a full-fledged solution out of that and add a lot more features. But the idea is to have a very simple solution. And I mean, I just wanted to set the expectation saying that what is the security inspector doing or something like that, right? So it is a very simple solution what we are going to present it using the native tools, okay? So before we really start with the session, just a small introduction. Myself, Hari Krishna. I'm from AWS Professional Services. Been with Postgres follower for the last several years. Okay, database migration specialist, and along with me, my colleague.
Myself, Rajesh, and I'm migration specialist in AWS, as well as I work on PostgreSQL, and I've been a part of this community from last 8 years. I'm working on PostgreSQL, and coming to the agenda.
So first of all, before really getting into the nitty-gritty, what is the solution about and what is it, the use case, we want to really emphasize on what are the database security aspects we are going to really need as an organization. Okay, every organization, whatever, really emphasize on that part. Okay, types of security. This may not be an exhaustive list, very super. I would say a subset of that. What is the use case? A customer use case, I would say, a real customer use case we had, and that customer had a requirement, a specific requirement saying, hey, this is what I want to really audit, and I want to get alerted in a near real time, not real time, near real time. Okay, and the solution what we came up was using some of the native tools actually. The architecture, what is that simple architecture what we have come up for that particular customer? Limitations of what else, the limitations of the particular extensions what we are using today, and we would see a live demo. We will try to simulate some of those use cases here and see the patterns and anti-patterns of those use cases actually. Okay, we'll try to justify that. Yeah. So database security, everybody understands that it is super important. Okay, and why do we need? Of course, we need to really safeguard unwanted access, corruption, theft, and things like that. We also want to really stop some of the malicious activities happening on the database. Okay. Now there are a ton of things you can do for securing the database, but these are some of the things which we thought that could be some of the most important ones. There could be many more which your organization would like to adopt and apply, but we thought that these are some of the things which we came up with. So authentication and access, obviously this is the first step what you want to have it. You want to first restrict the authentication and don't want to really give access to anybody and everybody. Okay, so that's the first control mechanism I would say. Encryption, everybody knows that you want to really have the database encrypted, because for any reason if your database, I mean data center or in disk storage or anything gets stolen, people should not really be able to really decrypt and get the data out of it. Backups, of course, is big. You want to really have your database backups because of any unwanted or inadvertent kind of a situation. You want to really restore the database. Without a backup, you cannot do that. So once you have the backup, that's the first mechanism or the first step towards securing the database. System hardening and monitoring, of course, that is also very important because it gives you all other, a layer extra beneath the database where you are going to start a lot of those, I would say, hacks or attacks happening actually. because that's a loophole. Many people really don't care about it. But I would say the approach here is top-down approach or the bottom-up approach. Both the approaches you need to really take to make the overall database security posture, I would say, an end-to-end kind of a system where I would not say a foolproof system, but at least try to achieve that actually. Okay, database monitoring and database auditing actually. Now the ones which are highlighted, the top and the bottom, that is the authentication access controls and database auditing, is the topic is the one which we are going to discuss in today's session actually. Okay, the database auditing part and the authentication access control part. So let's get into that. So the use cases was very simple for a customer which we were working actually. The customer wanted that any kind of a grant and revoke really being performed, okay, how can I get notified about it? Okay, how do I know it? Because grant and revokes are very powerful commands and equally dangerous command. Okay, you might not be realizing that, but it's like a double-edged sword, I would say. You can really destroy things because a user who is not supposed to having those kind of privileges could be granting, okay, and then he has the access to that information which is not, he's not supposed to really see that information. Some of the tables he could really be checking, or some financial information, some confidential information. So unless he doesn't have that required privileges, he cannot do that. So whenever a grant is really being executed, the command is being executed, you should get notified about it. Okay. Of course, there are set of database users which I would say valid users or the users which are supposed to do that. But apart from that, if there are any users which gets these privileges, okay, it's a huge risk in terms of getting, I would say, your entire database at threat actually. Okay. So how do you do that? So the grant and revoke commands, the user wanted to really get notified on that. And of course, when I say alerting mechanism, in simple words, it is that if these commands are executed, the end user wanted to get notified over email saying, okay, so and so user, a grant has been given or a revoke has been executed on that particular user actually. Okay, based on that near real-time notifications, the corrective actions would be taken, because that's the whole game, right? You don't want to get notified after 2 days and by the time the damage is done. So the damage control should be minimal, and you can do that when you have really that information at the nick of the time. Okay. So the solution what we adopted was simple, as I mentioned. It's not very complicated. It's a very simple solution. You're leveraging all the native tools and extensions. The PG audit, many might have been already aware or using it. It's a very good tool, I would say, extension. And the tail and mail, if you are in the, I would say, Postgres world for a long time, it's not very popular, but I would say I might have used it almost 10 years ago, but then when the need came, I started digging in, and I found this to be very handy actually. In the past, I've used it for several customers, but this tool came as a I would say, very handy for me, and we really use this tool. Again, this is an open source tool. So the context of today's tool or solution, what we are doing is all open source, nothing proprietary, anything out of the box. Yeah. Yeah, so we will have the demo, and we are covering those kind of use cases actually. If you could park a question for now, but certainly that's the whole point, right? We want to know who executed that command actually, and to whom it was given. So from and to is what you are looking for, right? Yeah, so definitely we are going to look at that part actually. Okay, so this solution, what we did, is a simple script. We have built it, and I would say we are executing as a cron job. So the frequency of the cron job, you can have it as your own wish in terms of whether you want to have a 5 minutes, 1 minute, whatever real-time information, near real-time information you want to get it. So when we say features, it's like a fine-grained auditing. You can have different levels of auditing. We are going to look at that. What are the different parameters for that actually? And you can have a control on that, what information, at what level you want to have it, whether you want to have it at a row level, you want to have a table level, DDL level, and whole lot of features. near real time, as I mentioned that it's through email, a lightweight of use of open source extension and utility. So as I mentioned, it's nothing, I would say, very fancy or a rocket science. It's a simple utility what we have built it actually. Yeah, so this is the overall architecture. If you see, a Postgres database is there, and PG audit extension is something which you would be installing on the Postgres database. Okay, that information, obviously, it is logging into the database, Postgres logs actually. This utility, which is called as a tail and mail from Bocardo, is being used, and that is going to grab all of that information what is getting logged into your Postgres log actually. Now once that information is there, now there are a ton of information you can get in the log, but you have the very nice feature within the tail and mail to really filter some of the keywords, only what you want it actually. And the beauty about this is what we are going to see here in the next demo also, or in the configuration is, it is going to really read your entire log, and it is going to preserve the number or the line number where it was last written. So it's not going to really parse your entire log again, but just continue from the last point it was there actually. So that's the, I would say, smart way of really avoiding unnecessary, I would say, reads. So a simple, all of those commands, whatever the end users is executing, it just get logged in your log. Okay, using the tail and mail, we are trying to grab that information, okay, pass that information, and have that filter in that what are the keywords which you are looking for. Especially in this case, we are really looking for grant and revoke, because that's what we are interested. And the second is, of course, the email notification, and just have your team, the concerned team, really notified over the email. So it's as simple as that, the solution is. Okay, so let's see that what is really goes into the configuration of these parts actually. So PG audit, of course, is the heart of this, the entire solution. And if you see here, it's an extension, and you can see that all the different available options. I'm not going to get into all of those options. The documentation is pretty, I would say, verbose in terms of giving all of that information. So I would recommend that you really go and check the documentation. But some of the two use cases what we are going to discuss today here is the ones which are highlighted. I would just call out that the role one and the miscellaneous one. Okay, and the PG audit parameters, what you really need to enable is the PG audit.log, the log.parameter, and the log.release _ relation. I mean, for this use case, of course. Okay, as per your requirement, you need to use your whatever the best options you have it, and enable the parameters. So what is this tail and mail? We might have heard about PG audit a lot, but tail and mail is a very less, I would say, spoken about or talked about. It's a very simple Perl script, travels to the point of the file, as I mentioned. Okay, parses the keywords, whatever you have filtered it. Okay, parse the database logs and sends email messages actually. Okay. So how do you do this? It's a very high level steps what we have tried to put it. You have your all the prerequisites like, so these packages are really dependent on some of the Perl libraries, so have them installed. You might have some challenges really installing or juggling through all of the dependent libraries, because Perl is not as straightforward as it looks, so you need to have those things in place. So any kind of a missing library, it is really going to make your life hell on that part. PG audit, tail and mail, and of course for sending mail, of course you need to have an SMTP server for that. Create the PG audit extension, configuration of the tail and mail, and then schedule the job as per the frequency, whatever you require it. Now the interesting part here is you will get an audit log entry for whatever the information you are trying to log it actually, and whatever parameters you have chosen actually. Based on that, the information will be logged. Now, a typical, if you see the top right part, that's an audit entry for one of the use case or the commands what we are trying to see. But how do we interpret that log information actually? If you see the left-hand side, the audit type, it really tells you that whether it's a session level or at an object level actually. Okay, and the statement ID and the substatement, if there are multiple statements, the class of that actually, whether it's a read, write, all of that. Okay, then you have the command statement actually, the object type, because you also want to know what kind of an object the grant or revoke was given to actually. the object name, the statement, and the parameters, the different parameters you want to pass it to. So on the right, the value from the example, this is how it would look like. We will see a live demo, and my colleague Rajesh is going to show all of that actually.
Do you want to continue with the limitations?
Yeah, we can do the demo, and we'll get back to the limitations part. So yeah, Rajesh can take it over.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, Hari. So guys, let me show you the demo first. Okay. So let me connect to the. Okay.
Is the resolution okay actually?
Is it visible? Now this is fine. Okay.
Is it visible at the end actually? I mean, I know there's some. How about now? Is it better? Okay.
Okay. So
Some
before
more?
going.
Some more. Rajesh, can you?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay, thanks.
This is fine. So I have two screens actually. Like I want to show you log file as well as what exactly we are doing in the database. So that's the reason I have just two screens. But before going to that one, right, I would like to explain you because I don't know whether the internet will help me or not. So is it visible now? Okay. So thanks Hari for giving me back the session, and let me show you the prerequisites. What I mean, if you want to perform the demo, right? So what exactly you need, or you want to configure it in your environment, then what all you need. So you need to take care of, like, you have to configure first PG audit extension in your database, in which which database you want to do a monitor using the audit, PG audit. And then you need to have a SMTP server configured on your database server to send the email. And then you need Perl packages, which is like Perl version 5 or later. So then only this script tail-end-mail will work. And then you have to just download. This script is available in Bucardo site. Directly you can download, and you can just send a config file to it based on what patterns you want to capture it, and what and which stakeholders should receive this email. So you have to provide that information in the tail-end-mail config file. I'll show you that as well. And then based on that, you can schedule it in the cron. Okay. So let me connect to the database. Okay. So, and what I'm doing in the next screen is I'm just opening the PostgreSQL log. Before going to that one, let me show you, like, what I'm going to show you is I have two users here, more than that actually. So 3 users. So I'm not considering the super user. So here we have like 3 users: the writer, reader, and hacker. So like whenever we have, like, I have already created a few tables in the using a writer user who will be having both read-write privileges, whereas I'm granting the access to reader user for only with the select privileges. And then what we will see is we will check our PostgreSQL log file, what exactly it is capturing, and then I'll show you like what parameters it's set for PG auditing, and then what is the tail-end-mail config file, how it looks, and then I'll show you how we will receive the email as well. Okay. So before that, let me show you the tables, like what I have. I have this many tables in my database, and so if I check the privileges, right, so there are 3 tables on which, like, department, EMP, and salary. If you see, read and write users are having the privileges, whereas the reader is having just like read-write privileges. Read privileges given by the writer, and whereas the writer user is having all privileges on these tables, because the owner of these tables is writer user. Okay, so what I'll try to do is I'll first. So using writer user, I'm connected to the database. Now I'll just revoke one of the privileges from reader. Yeah. So I did that. Okay. So now if I check the log file, so this is the last log file in which it is written. So if I do like cat, this one, and tail. So if you see, you are seeing this audit entry, right? It has been captured. So how it is capturing into the log file? So let me show you the audit, like whatever I have configured in the Postgres log file related to the audit logging, that is like audit parameters. So first of all, we need to have a shared preload library set to enable this parameter. I think I need to do it through the super user. Yeah. So if you see, I have enabled like a. So whenever you are setting this parameter, right, then only the auditing all the parameters get into the picture. Unless you set this one, yeah. If you are setting any of the audit parameter, then that will not be considered. Okay. So if I show you some of the parameters which are set to PG audit, then this was the parameter which Hari was talking about. So we have like different options where we can set it. So let me open this. Okay. So if you see, I have set role and DDL, right? So what exactly this is? So whenever I am setting the role, so here it means that I just, the auditing will be done on the revoke and the grants and related to the role only. Like apart from that, if you are doing any other things, then it will not be audited or not captured, right? Similarly, I have added the DDL part. So if I do the altering or if I create an object, if I truncate that will also be captured as a part of your auditing, right? So you want to add it then? So let me connect back with a writer user. Okay, so if you see, just now we have removed the permission from the reader user, like it is not going to do a select operations on the department table, right? So, and that has been logged into the log file that revoke, the command is logged. And now if I open my tail and mail configuration file, then I'll show you like what exactly we are capturing using that one. So if you see this one, right? So this is this is the like tail and mail is just a Perl script, and the advantage of this one is like it is open source, and second thing is you can go ahead and you can do any addition, like if you want to add any of the feature, right, which is not there in this one, you can do that if you have like Perl knowledge, or if you want to write similar script, you can write in different language as well. And to run this one, we need to have a config file which should be passed as an input to this tail and mail, and then we have to like execute this command. So let me show you this file. Okay, so this is the file, right? So here there are options like first what we have to do is the format should be same. If you are doing any changes to the format, then tail and mail will not work. So what you have to do is we have to give the email address, whatever email to which you want to send it, and second is the subject of this one, whatever the subject you want to keep. So I'm just putting like ACME host Postgres, and the unique is the uniqueness of the errors what we are getting and how many times it got captured. So that information will be coming through this one, and here we are providing the like this one file. So what we are providing is whatever the PostgresConf file in which it is writing, right? So we have to provide that location as well as the format of the file. So like there could be chances that you are rolling your log file for every day or every 1 hour, or based on your size also. So there are different options, right? So you want to consider each and every log file which got created. So based on that, and these are the patterns what I want to include, like we have seen just the revoke, right? So I have included revoke and then grant, and also I'm including errors. So errors, we don't want to capture all the errors again. There is a possibility like developers or somebody does a mistake, like I was doing some mistakes, right? So if somebody executes like select star from some table, or select some column from the table, and we'll get that, okay, this column does not exist. So we don't want to capture, or we want to get the email on that errors, right? So for that, we can exclude like any syntax error or does not exist. So this kind of we can exclude. And if you want to include few important things like signal 11 or any panic occurs on your database, right? You should be getting an email. So for that, you can mark them into include option. Yeah, so let me show you. Now we did this one, and what I am doing is I am running a cron job, passing this file as an input to the tail end mail. So if you see this one, so for every 1 minute it is running, and what it is doing is it is sending an email to the email what is there in the tail end mail config file. Yeah? So let me open my email, whether we got, okay, yeah. So this is the email what we got, right? I'll just show this one, this part. So if you see, we have just executed this one, right? Revoke, select from the department table from the reader. So we got this information. So this, how we have to read is like based on the combination of both your PostgreSQL logging parameters as well as your auditing parameters. Whereas, like how many of you know that we can set the logline prefix, right? So we have a parameter called as logline prefix. In that we will set the username, details of a host, and then details from the application, right? So based on that, so how we can read this one, yeah, sure.
So does that answer the question actually which you had asked, that you wanted to really know that from which user that was executed, because obviously you want to know that, right? Yeah. So does that answer the question actually? Yeah, thanks.
So here if you see, this was executed. So my logline prefix I'll show you, but if you see this one, writer user connected to the Madivale, that is database name, and whereas he executed this command. So that got captured and sent through the the tail end mail on this email. Yeah.
So in Postgres, we have a role concept, no?
Yes.
The user will be mapped to a particular member of a role, correct? So I logged in with my user, and I switched to Postgres. So if I do some, user creation or revoke,
yeah.
So will it be printed with my user, or it will be printed with that role?
So from which user you have connected to the database, right? Using that user, it will be like sent the error, like based on that. So okay. Whenever you switch the role, set role to this one, right? Even that will work. But in case of super user, that is a limitation. I mean, we'll talk about that, but that is a limitation when you are connecting using a super user.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I connect with a
different users, yes, you will get that information.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the only caveat I would say with this part. And that's okay. Anybody else have a question? Yeah. In RTS, how do we implement? You want to implement PG audit or tail end mail?
Okay, so
tail end, yeah, I know that the session is mostly on the open source tool, but there are different mechanisms to do that. You can grab that using CloudWatch and all of that. You can have your SNS configured, and that can trigger mail also. So I think that wouldn't be a big challenge for that. So the only part here is the auditing information is critical actually. What you capture, what you exclude, how do you send that mail? I think there are several, I would say, ways to it actually. Yeah, so it's possible. Yeah. Uh, uh, in fact, if I have to be honest, that the solution was built for that, but we converted into the open source one actually. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now one more thing I would like to add. Oh, sorry. There's a question.
Is it possible without a PG audit?
Yes, that is possible. It depends upon like how logging, like you have to set the parameters, right? PostgreSQL parameters will also work extensively, but the thing is, again, you need to think from the performance perspective. So if you enable each and every parameter, right, there you will see the performance impact.
So let's assume that I'm talking about log underscore statement is DDL.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, you can log in
and
that.
then I talk about logline prefix. Logline prefix.
Yes, you
right?
can set that
Both
one.
of them the
So here
combination.
I'm
the
just
reason why I'm sorry
yeah, sure.
Arjun. So the reason why I'm saying is PG audit requires some more of your memory, right? Anything that gets into shared payload libraries requires additional chunk of your memory, right?
Right.
If it is possible, then probably that's one of the solutions.
So that's yeah. So this gentleman's question was that can whatever information we are trying to capture, is it possible using without PG audit? Obviously, yes. A certain level, yes. A PG audit, as any other extensions or any other utilities, will come with slight overhead. That's a trade-off what we want to make it actually. And now there is a lot of capabilities within the PG audit. That's the whole intent of really getting this session. That why don't you use this actually? Unless you don't have any heavy requirement to really go for a very simple information you want to log it, you can go with the PG log information itself actually. But then you have an extensive use of information that should be logged and different things. I would recommend that PG audit is there. Of course, performance considerations you need to really check. So I would say that, okay, when you are doing a PG audit, do some performance, test it out. Without that, test it out and then see it, take a call whether what is the impact on the overall solution actually. Is that fine? I mean, does that answer? Yeah, thanks. Yeah. And that's a valid point. Thanks for bringing up.
Okay. Okay. So I'm connected now. Let me see this connection. Okay, so till now we have seen that, okay, it was a single file, but if there are multiple files, okay, and then how it will maintain the track of like till what time it has captured and from where it has to start again, because so there are few customers who will store the, I mean they'll rotate the log file for every 1 hour or based on the size of the log file, right? So if I want to capture, like for example, on before just to rotation of the next file, if we got the email and we have a new file as well and we have this type of command, so then how it will maintain the track of that. So there is like what tail and mail will do is it will create one state file. So if you see here, this is the state file. What it will do is it will go and read and it will maintain the offsite. Sorry, this one. Yeah. So it will maintain the offsite. So from what was the last file it touched and what it read from that one and what was the offsite, right? Whenever it captures the error, it will log the offsite of that one, right? And if you see this one, rotate mode. So it will also, like we have to, whenever we have set any of the rotate mode, automatically it will capture that, and based on that it will keep the track of your the patterns, whatever you are capturing from the log file. Yeah. Okay. So I think let me show you. So this first like pattern we have seen, and now let's take an example of exclude, where like somebody did a syntax error, then I should not get the email. But if I do some of the command, if I execute which is like a real error and which should be sent as an email. So if you take an example of, I'll execute both the commands at a time and then we'll see like what we'll get, whether we'll get the email for both or not. Yeah. So if you see, this is the last, second one is the genuine error, that is like divisible by 0 is not possible because I am dividing that number by 0. But whereas the syntax error, the above one is a like mistake. I did the mistake that it should be semicolon, but it is colon what I have given. So if you see our pattern, what we asked to capture. So if you see, I'm asking like does not exist or a syntax error. So first one should be excluded, right? And we should get the second error should be get captured because we are including the error. But from that error, if any pattern matches with the syntax error, that should be excluded. Huh? Oh, I got different email. Okay, I got the second mail. And if you see this one, I have executed 2 commands, whereas the second one got captured and first one was not. So that was an anti-pattern what we were excluding. Yeah? Anything you want
We just got to know that you do a lot of shopping in Tata Click.
Sorry. Oh, any questions here? Okay, so there was a question on this one, like okay, I'm not showing the super user one, but I'm showing the different use case. So this you want to talk about limitations first, and then we'll do this. Yeah. Okay. So so one of the limitation what PG audit is having is so there are 4 to 5 limitations. So one of the limitation which is easiest one, I have captured that. So like let's take an example of a table, and if you are doing any alter operation or renaming that one, right? So that will get captured on the alter on which it is performed. So I took an example like alter table and rename to the test one. So if you see this one, right? So what it is doing is it is capturing. So I'll go through that interpreter, how to interpret this one, and then you will understand this. So if you see this, the pattern got captured into the audit file, I mean the Postgres log file on the name of this one, but I have performed the alter statement on the test table, right? But whatever we have renamed to, it is like doing, I mean capturing that as a table object name, this one. Let me execute this and let me show you in the log file. So now what we are doing here is altering the table test and renaming it to test 1. So as per this one, the auditing, the auditing should be happen on the test table, but not on the test 1, right? So if you see the log file, so this one, if you check this part, so this is like if we interpret with this one. So object type should be table, right? And what it should capture is the original table name. But what it is capturing is the secondary table name for which we have renamed to. It is test 1. So that is one of the limitation what we have in PG like audit. And apart from that, there are 2 more limitations which Hari will talk about.
Yeah, so some of the limitations what have been listed here, the auto vacuum, auto analyze are not logged. I think, of course, you don't want to have it, but if there is any specific use case, I don't understand that you want to log that as well, but that is, I would say, that will not be captured. The object renames is something which Rajesh just demoed it, that the object it was renamed to is what it is going to really be auditing about actually. The super user is something we reliably we say that it does not possible to audit super user with PG audit actually. So if you have a super user and you're trying to audit that, that's again not going to be a feasible one. Transactions and statements that are executed after a transaction enters an aborted state will not be audited. So obviously you have a transactions and if it is aborted for some reason, actually that is not going to get audited. So if your expectations is that the solution will have an end-to-end audit, it is going to capture each and every statement and blah, 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 just take care of this and take a note of this, and whenever you're building the solution, be mindful of these use cases and accordingly set the expectations with your leadership team or the customer team, saying that, okay, these are things which we cannot audit because of the limitation, but I believe then we'll have to do some workaround to really capture that unless it is needed.
So just to go through this one. So like this is the tail end mail. This is open source script. If you see this one, so there are a lot of options. If you scroll it down, you have quite a lot of options. And for example, now always you might be capturing the unique unique patterns, right? And if you want to maintain it in a single file, even that file can be input for your config file. So that also you can maintain it. Show you. And second thing is you need to have a SMTP server configured properly. If not, you cannot use this tail end mail, because to send the email from your Linux machines or any server from where you are running it, you need to have that tail end, SMTP server configured. Yeah, I think done.
Yeah, that's all about us. Do you have any use cases, anything which is, yeah.
Sure. Any questions? Yeah.
So the tail end mail, does it allows to like limit the number of alerts? Like if a particular error is generated multiple times, there is a chance that a monitoring team will be bombarded with emails. So let's say if it's more than 5 times a minute, just limit. Does it have a functionality like that?
So there are parameters in that. I have not tested everything, but yes, I think there is one parameter using which you can do that. So if you are seeing the same pattern more than that many number of times, right? So there is one parameter based on that. Yes, you can limit it. You can limit that one.
Yeah, that's a good question, because you don't want to. There are some known errors or known issues. Of course, you don't want to get bugged about it actually. So obviously, after 4 or 5 emails or notifications, you just want to ignore that. Is that the case, right? Yeah. Any more questions? I guess people just want to rush back. Difficult to keep awake, be awake. If not, I think that's it. Thank you for the time. Yep.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Hari Krishna. Thank you, Rajesh. It was very useful. So this was the last presentation of the day and of the conference in this room. And thank you for being a part of this conference. I hope you all got something, to take back, learn something in this conference, and see you again next time at PGConf India. Thank you.